Fabio here, the Stoic coach. And today I invite you to dive with me into a concept that will transform how you approach business leadership and life itself. It's a principle that has been tested by time, rooted in ancient wisdom, and yet is more relevant today than ever before. I'm talking about the art of non-resistance. Now, before you think this is about giving up or being passive, let me stop you right there. Non-resistance is not about surrender. It's about strategic yielding. It's about understanding the flow of life, of a business, and the universe, and aligning yourself with it, rather than fighting against it.
Look, you want me to fix the part of you that makes money, but it is attached to the rest, so this is going to take a little while.
Everyone needs a coach.
Eric has this management coach. Also coaches Steve Jobs.
That's a coach.
Yeah, definitely a coach.
Is a performance coach.
It's just money. It's made up.
Are you coachable?
Good question.
As entrepreneurs, CEOs, investors, and professionals, we are trained to resist. We must resist failure. We try to resist uncertainty, and sometimes we resist change. And unfortunately, we even resist our own emotions. We believe that resistance is strength. But what if I told you that resistance is often the very thing holding you back? Let me share a story with you. The parable of the oak and the reed. Imagine a mighty oak, a tree standing tall in a storm. It's strong, rigid, and unyielding. The wind howls and the oak resists with all its might. But the storm grows stronger, and eventually the oak snaps under the pressure. Now instead picture a reed by the riverbank. It's soft, flexible, and yielding. And when the storm comes, the reed bends. It doesn't resist its flow, but it doesn't resist. It flows with the wind. And when the storm passes, the reed stands tall once again. And I want to ask you, which one are you in your business and in your life? Are you the oak resisting every challenge until you break? Or are you the reed yielding strategically and emerging stronger? This is the essence of non-resistance. It's not about weakness. It's about wisdom. Come on, let's get real for a moment. As high achievers, we face unique challenges. Uncertainty. The market shifts, competitors emerge, and plans fall apart. We resist this uncertainty. We fear failure so much that we resist taking risks, even when we know they are necessary. We resist our own emotions, fear, doubt, frustration, because we believe they make us weak. We resist change, even when it's inevitable, because it disrupts our comfort zone. And we resist difficult people, whether it's a toxic employee, a challenging client, or a competitor. But here's the truth. The more you resist, the worse it gets. The more you resist, the worse it gets. Resistance creates friction, stress, and wasted energy. It distracts you from what truly matters and keeps you stuck in a cycle of frustration. So, which is the Stoic perspective? The Stoic perspective is non-resistance. The ancient Stoics understood this principle well. Epictetus once said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. So in other words, focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot. This is the heart of non-resistance. But let's take it a step further. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, wrote in his meditations that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. What stands in the way becomes the way. What does this mean for you? It means that the obstacles you resist are often the very things that can propel you forward if you approach them with the right mindset. As high achievers and leaders, we are used to being the ones giving feedback, not receiving it. And when we do receive it, we often resist it, defending ourselves, dismissing it, or even retaliating. But feedback, even when it's hard to hear, it's a gift. It's an opportunity to grow, to improve, and to strengthen your relationships. I once coached a sales executive who was struggling with her team's morale. During a 360-degree feedback session, she received some tough criticism, and her initial reaction was to resist. She defended her actions and blamed her team and dismissed the feedback as unfair. But during our sessions, I encouraged her to practice non-resistance. Instead of defending herself, she listened. Instead of dismissing the feedback, she reflected on it. And instead of blaming her team, she took responsibility. The result? Her team felt heard and valued, and morale improved. And this is the power of non-resistance. In feedback, when you stop resisting criticism, you create space for growth. So, what's the key lesson here? The key lesson here is thrive on non-resistance. Thrive on non-resistance. When you stop resisting vulnerability, feedback, and collaboration, you create deeper, more meaningful connections. And these connections are the foundation of success in business and in life. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can hear twice as much as we speak. Now let's go on to a practical exercise. Feedback reflection. To practice non-resistance in relationships, try the feedback reflection exercise. Seek feedback. Ask a trusted colleague, employee, or friend for honest feedback, and listen without resistance. And as they share their feedback, listen and don't try to defend or explain or dismiss. Simply listen, reflect, and act afterward. Reflect on what you heard, what you can learn, and how can you grow. This exercise will help you build stronger relationships and become a more effective leader. Stop resisting feedback. Try this exercise. Let me know in the comments, or get in touch with me, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me know how is it going. Okay? Then I want you to understand how the flow of emotions yield to inner peace. Yes. Now, let's turn inward, because the truth is the greatest resistance we face is often within ourselves. As entrepreneurs and professionals, we are trained to resist our emotions. We see fear as a sign of weakness. We see frustration as a lack of control, and doubt as a lack of confidence. But I have to tell you the truth. The truth is that emotions are not the enemy. Resistance to emotion is when you resist your emotions, that you give them the power. You create inner turmoil, stress, and burnout. But when you yield to your emotions, when you allow yourself to feel them without judgment, you create inner peace. Fear is one of the most common emotions. One of the most common emotions we resist. As high achievers and leaders, we are often terrified of failure. We see it as a reflection of our worth, and so we resist it at all costs. But what if I told you that failure is not the opposite of success? It's a part of your success. Failure is a part of your success. Now you know it. I once worked with an entrepreneur who was so afraid of failure that he avoided taking risks. He was stuck to safe, predictable strategies, even when they were no longer effective. So, During our sessions, I encouraged him to practice non-resistance with his fear in this case. And instead of avoiding failure, he started to embrace it. Embrace failure as a teacher. The result was that he took calculated risks and learned from his mistakes and ultimately achieved greater success. And in essence, this is the power of non-resistance with fear. When you stop resisting failure, the fear of failure, you create space for growth. Now, the frustration trap. Frustration is another emotion we often resist. We see it as a sign that something is wrong. And we try to push it away as much as possible. But frustration is not the problem. Resistance to frustration is your problem. Because when you resist frustration, you create tension and stress. But when you yield to frustration, when you allow yourself to feel it without judgment, you create clarity and focus. I once coached a project manager who was constantly frustrated with her performance. Instead of addressing the root cause, she bottled up her frustration, which led her to resentment and burnout. During our coaching sessions, I encouraged her to practice non-resistance with her frustration. Instead of suppressing it, she then started to express it constructively. And the result was that her team became more accountable and her stress levels finally decreased. And this is the power of non-resistance with frustration. When you stop resisting frustration, you create space for solutions. So the key lesson here is that emotions are not the enemy. Resistance to your emotions is your enemy. When you stop resisting your emotions, you create inner peace, and from that place of peace, you can make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and achieve greater success. My other telephone ran out of battery, so I switched to this other telephone. That's why probably you will see a difference in the definition of the video. Let's continue where I left. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. So let's put this in practice with an exercise. An exercise that will help you practice non-resistance with your emotions. Try the emotion journal exercise. Identify your emotions throughout the day. Notice when you feel fear, frustration, doubt, or any other emotion, and write them down in your journal. Describe the emotions without judgment. Describe what triggered your emotion and how does it feel. Afterward, reflect on what you wrote and what can you learn from this emotion. How can you release resistance to it? This exercise will help you build emotional resilience and create inner peace. Try this exercise and let me know in the comments if this was helpful to you. Now, let's reflect on the ripple effect of non-resistance. I want you to process these thoughts. that no resistance is not just a personal practice. It's a ripple effect. Because when you stop resisting, you create space for growth, innovation, and connection. You inspire your team to do the same, and together you create a culture of adaptability and resilience. So I would like you now to explore how non-resistance applies to global events and uncertainty, and is the ultimate test of our ability to flow with business and life. Now, let's talk about the flow of decision-making and uncertainty. Because in business and life, decision-making is where resistance often shows up most prominently. We resist making decisions because we fear the consequences. We resist uncertainty because it feels uncomfortable. But the truth is that indecision is resistance. Indecision is resistance in disguise. So let's explore how non-resistance can transform your approach to decision-making and uncertainty. Let's talk about the paralysis of overthinking, the analysis paralysis. Because as high achievers, we are trained to analyze and strategize and optimize. But when taken to the extreme, this can lead to analysis paralysis, which is a state of overthinking where no decision is made. No decision will be made at all. I once worked with a startup founder who was stuck in this cycle. He had a groundbreaking product, but could not decide on a launch strategy. He analyzed every possible scenario, weighted every risk, and sought endless opinions. And months passed by, and his competitors began to catch up. So during our sessions, I introduced him to the concept of being satisfied with a decision-making strategy that involves choosing the first option that meets your criteria. Choose the first option that meets your criteria rather than seeking the perfect option. This approach aligns with the Stoic principle of focusing on what is within your control. You cannot control the outcome. In this case, you cannot control the outcome of your decisions, but you can control the process by embracing non-resistance in decision-making. And by embracing non-resistance in decision-making, this founder was able to move forward. He launched this product and then learned from the outcome and adjust his strategy. He adjusted his strategy as needed with the power of non-resistance. So when you stop resisting imperfection, you create a space for progress. Avoid the fear of wrong decisions. Avoid the fear of making the wrong decision is another common form of resistance. We worry about the consequences, the judgment, and the potential failure. But here is the truth. There are no wrong decisions. There are no wrong decisions, only opportunities to learn. And I once coached an executive who was offered the promotion, but was hesitant to accept. He feared he wasn't ready. Can you believe it? He feared he wasn't ready and that he might fail and that others will judge him. Sound familiar to you? So during our sessions, I encourage him to practice no resistance with his fear. And instead of So during our sessions, I encouraged him to practice non-resistance with his fear. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, he started to focus on what he could learn. And you can learn, be sure, from every situation. And he accepted the promotion. He embraced the challenges and grew into the role. This is the power of non-resistance with fear. When you stop resisting failure, you create space for growth. So the key lesson here the key lesson is that indecision is resistance in disguise. Indecision is resistance in disguise. When you resist making decisions, you create stagnation. Instead, I want you to focus on taking action and learning from the results. Take action. Learn as you go. Use the results as a feedback. And keep taking action. Iterate. Improve. As Seneca said, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It's because we do not dare that they are difficult. So, I want to give you also a practical exercise. The 5-minute decision rule. To practice non-resistance in decision making. So, 5-minute decision rule. Set a timer and for the next week, give yourself not more than 5 minutes to make small decisions. Commit to action, whether it's choosing a restaurant, responding to an email, prioritizing a task. Commit to a decision within 5 minutes. Reflect and learn. Reflect and learn. Take the decision. Act in 5 minutes. Afterwards, reflect on the outcome and what did you learn? What did you learn? Ask yourself. Ask yourself, what did you learn? And how can you apply this to bigger decisions? This exercise will help you break the habit of overthinking and start flowing with the process of decision making. It's very important. It's like a muscle. Like when you go to the gym, you have to work on your muscle of taking decisions. So, like when you start with the gym, start small. Start with small decisions. Take them in 5 minutes. And the more you take small decisions, the more you get the habit, the more you grow your muscle of being able to take decisions. And then you can take harder, bigger decisions with the same ease. So let's now talk about the flow of global events and yielding to uncertainty. In today's world, uncertainty is the only certainty. As markets fluctuate, technologies disrupt, and global events, pandemics, geopolitical tensions, economic shifts, all of these remind us how little control we truly have. As entrepreneurs, as CEOs and professionals, as business executives, we are trained to resist uncertainty. We try to predict, to plan, to control every outcome. But, as you might have noticed, the harder you try to resist, the more you suffer. And the Stoics understood this. Epictetus said that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In other words, the key of navigating uncertainty is not control, it's adaptability. And this is a concept of cybernetics, if you're familiar with it. Command and control through feedback. The illusion of control is one of the biggest challenges we face. We believe that if we just work harder, plan better, or strategize more, we can avoid uncertainty. But here is the truth. Control is an illusion. You have to be very careful distinguishing what you can control and what you cannot. And don't be caught in the illusion of control. This reminds me of a client I once worked with, a hedge fund manager who was obsessed with predicting the market trends. And he spent hours analyzing data, building models, and trying to outsmart the market. Basically, this is what investors try to do. Either with technical analysis, fundamental analysis, or any other kind of analysis, you try to predict the market. And no matter he was trying, he couldn't predict the unpredictable. And during our sessions, I introduced him to the concept of non-resistance. Instead of trying to control the market, then he started to focus on what he could control: his mindset, his risk. So I invited him to work on his risk management, his response to volatility, and his money management. If you are in investment, you will be familiar with that. Money management, mindset, risk management are what you can truly control in trading and investing. And I remember he became less stressed, more adaptable, and ultimately more successful. And this is the power of non-resistance in uncertainty. When you stop resisting what you cannot control, you create space for adaptability. The fear of uncertainty disappears. The fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown, it's a natural response. That's how we as humans are wired. It's natural that you fear what you don't know and what is uncertain. But when you resist that fear, you create unnecessary suffering. I also coached a CEO who was paralyzed by the fear of a potential economic downturn. He was so focused on what might happen that he couldn't focus on what was really happening. So during our sessions, I encourage him to practice non-resistance. To practice non-resistance with his fear. And instead of trying to predict or prevent the downturn, finally he started to prepare for it. He diversified his revenue streams, he strengthened his cash reserves, and focused on building resilience within his team. The result was that when the downturn eventually came, his company was better prepared than most of his competitors. And this is the power of no resistance with fear. When you stop resisting the unknown, you create space for preparation. And finally, he was prepared. So the key lesson here is that uncertainty is inevitable. Resistance to uncertainty, instead, is optional. You can choose not to resist to uncertainty. And when you stop resisting uncertainty, you create space for adaptability, preparation, and growth. As Seneca said, the difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. I believe this applies very well in this case. So let's move to a practical exercise. Let's do the exercise of the uncertainty audit. To practice no resistance with uncertainty, try this exercise. The uncertainty audit. What you have to do. I want you to identify your fears and write down the uncertainties that scare you the most. I don't know what it is for you. Market shifts, global events, personal challenges. Write them down. What scares you the most? And then assess your control for each fear. Identify what you can and cannot control. Be very careful with this. If you need help or need any more assistance, put a comment and I will read the comments and I will answer. Okay? But concentrate on your deepest fears. Identify if you can control them or not. And then take action. Focus on what you can control. Prepare, adapt, and build resilience. But always on what you can control and dismiss what you cannot. This is important. Write it down. It's important that you write with your hands, pen and paper. Use pen and paper. And this will help you navigate the uncertainty with clarity, with confidence. Try these exercises that I'm giving you in my videos. It's a way for me to help you in a practical way, as I cannot coach every of you personally. But I want you to act. The importance of a coach that, of course, with a coach, you have execution. It's completely different than watching a video. I will make you execute. I will tailor my approach to you personally, to your personal challenges, and I will make you execute. And I will make you accountable. So the results are guaranteed. That's why I guarantee the results, because it's not possible not to achieve results if you follow the right process. And will go through the process up to the end until you get the results. Because I believe my coaching, at least, as the Stoic coach, is all about results. We're not digging in your past traumas or useless discussions in theoretical principles or reading books over books and then remaining stuck with your problem. We will work on something that is actionable. Stoicism is about action. That's what makes it completely different from any other philosophy. You don't have to study the history of Stoicism. You don't have to study the theory. I mean, the theory you have to study because you have to put it in practice. And the theory of Stoicism is not that complex. It's a few principles. And they seem easy. But when you try to put them in practice, I see very few people who can really implement and put them in action and embody the Stoic principles. But this is what Marcus Aurelius told us, to embody your philosophy, not read it, not scrolling quotes on your social media, not buy book and then another book and then read another book. I believe you just need the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius and perhaps the 𝗪𝗪. Then you can read some more from Epictetus and Seneca. But if you just act on very few principles in the 𝗪𝗪 of Epictetus and in Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, you will be far, far, far more ahead than all the people who just have the mouth full of the theories of Stoicism. So this is my take as the Stoic coach. You can like it or not. You can agree with it or not. You can tell me in the comments your opinion. But I work on results. If you can get the results you want, this is your philosophy. If you cannot get the results you want, I mean, then you can read the Stoicism books like you can read any other book, right? So, coaching is about execution and accountability. And you need execution and accountability to achieve results. And in business and finance, results is what you want, results is what you need, and results is what you get with business and finance Stoicism. So let's move to the flow of legacy. Yielding to purpose, to your purpose, your meaning in what you do, in your business, in your life, in your being yourself, being who you are, in what make you rise in the morning and go and challenge the world. Because at the end of the day, success is not just about what you achieve. It's also about what you leave behind. As leaders, we often resist thinking about legacy. We're so focused on the day-to-day. And I believe you're also too much focused on your day-to-day activities. And you forget to ask the bigger questions. What is your purpose? What is your impact? What will you leave behind? If you know it, tell me in the comments. If you don't know it, you have an opportunity to think about it now. Because the truth is that legacy is not something you create by resisting. It's something you create by yielding. And this is the purpose paradox. The paradox is that the purpose is often seen is often seen as something we need to find or achieve. But the truth is that purpose is not something you find, it's something you create. And you have to create your purpose. This is very important. We will work on that together. I work on that with my clients because everything starts from there. What is your why? What is your purpose? And then everything else is a consequence. But it's a consequence that makes you feel fulfilled. A fulfilled person, a fulfilled life, a meaningful life. So, purpose is not something you find. It's something you create. I remember I worked with a serial entrepreneur who had achieved incredible success, but felt unfulfilled. He had resisted thinking about his purpose, believing it was a distraction from his goals. And during our sessions, I encouraged him to practice non-resistance with purpose. Instead of trying to find his purpose, he started to create it. He focused on the impact he wanted to have on his team, on his industry, and the world. Think about this in your case, for example. What is the impact that you want to have in your team? Start from your team. And then in your industry, consider your industry. And then expand your purpose, your impact to the whole world. With my client, the result was that he found a deeper sense of fulfillment and began to build a legacy that extended beyond his own achievements. And this is the power of non-resistance with purpose. Because when you stop resisting your impact, you create space for legacy. And this is the impact of yielding. Because legacy is not about control. It's about influence. It's about the ripple effect of your actions, your decisions, and your values. Do you know your values? Which are your values? Can you put them in order from the most important to the least? Let's say 10 of them, and tell me which values are guiding your actions now. You can tell me in the comment. Let me know. It's very important to work on your values. They are your compass. I once coached a non-profit founder who was struggling to scale her organization because she was so focused on control every detail that she was stifling her team's potential. And during our sessions, I encouraged her to practice no resistance with her legacy. Instead of trying to control every outcome, she started to focus on empowering her team. And the result was that her organization grew her impact and expanded her legacy and became greater than she ever imagined. And this is the power of non-resistance with legacy. When you stop resisting, you create space for impact. So the key lesson here is legacy. Legacy is built through yielding. Legacy is not built through resistance. It's built through yielding. When you stop resisting your purpose and impact, you create a legacy that extends beyond your achievements. What we do now echoes in eternity. So here is a practical exercise, the legacy reflection. To practice no resistance with legacy, try the legacy reflection exercise. Define your purpose. Write down the impact you want to have on your team, your industry, and the world. Then assess your actions. Reflect on your current actions and ask yourself, are they aligned with your purpose or not? This is very important. Are you in alignment? Are you acting in alignment with your purpose? Then next time, take inspired action. Identify one step you can take to align your actions with your legacy. And take action on that step. This exercise will help you build a legacy that reflects your values and your impact. So, I want to leave you with a thought of no resistance as something that is not about giving up. It's about stepping into your power. When you stop resisting, you create space for growth, for connection and impact. You become like water, my friend. I think I will put Bruce Lee here, if I find where he says, be water, my friend. Be like water, yielding and unstoppable. When you become like water, yielding and unstoppable, there's nothing that can touch you anymore.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Actually, you see, it's a combination of both. Here it is the natural instinct and here is control. You are to combine the two in harmony. Not if you have one to the extreme, you will be very unscientific. If you have another to the extreme, you become all of a sudden a mechanical man, no longer a human being. So it is a successful combination of both. All the time you are keeping the continuity going, bending, stretching, everything. Suppose, you just keep it moving.
It's like a belly dancer there.
Yeah, it is. To them, you see, the idea is running water never grows stale. So you got to just keep on flowing.
You become untouchable. As the ancient Taoist sages who taught us that the soft overcomes the hard, the gentle overcomes the rigid. And so, my friend, I challenge you to embrace the art of no resistance. Stop fighting the flow of life and start flowing with it. And if you're ready to take this journey deeper, I invite you to explore my coaching program, because, of course, together we can have a real impact based on execution and accountability. We can create a strategy that aligns with your goals, your values, and your legacy. But if you're not ready yet, no problem. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will keep providing help as much as possible with insights, with my advice, with my exercises. I hope I will be able to bring you as much valuable, actionable content as possible. And by now, just remember that the more you resist, the worse it gets. And the more you yield, the greater you become. I think this is the take until now for today. Then I wish you to live long and prosper. And to see you in my next video. Bye bye now.
Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water, like water, like water. Water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Running water never goes stale. So you gotta just keep on flowing, keep on. So you gotta just keep on. So you gotta just keep on flowing. You have to train. You have to keep your reflexes so that when you want it, it's there. When you want to move, you're moving. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Water can flow or it can crash. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Be water, my friend.